So on to the next module. Now we're going to look at the market as a whole in terms of performance and investment principles. Okay, so these factors are going to be the underlying fundamental features of the Dubai real estate market, which basically make it an attractive proposition and cause the capital growth and appreciation in property values that we've seen in recent years. So what I'll do is I'll give you a quick summary and then speak through each of the factors one by one. But it's important to understand that there are several factors, macroeconomic principles and conditions that influence the dynamics and investment potential. In other words, put simply, there's stuff that happens at a high level which ultimately dictates the value of your property. Often people think it's, is there a few extra tourists coming? Is that particular area of Dubai doing well? And that's what they base their decision on. But really what you want to do is look at the city and think about the overall picture. And basically understanding these will really let you appreciate what Dubai offers, and it will allow you to invest with confidence, or if you're working in the market, advise clients confidently as well. So the first one is economic growth. So obviously Dubai was built on oil, but they've transitioned over the years more so to focus on the tourism aspect. Financial is a big sector now, and then general trade as well. So in other words, Dubai has money. Okay, they're transitioning out of the reliance of oil and into these booming sectors. And in recent years, we've seen the likes of crypto and AI and things like that. And Dubai are very much at the forefront of that. So in terms of regulation, I believe I saw some news recently about AI senior members of staff being recruited in various government departments, etc. So they're really at the forefront of that, that niche in that sector. And that's really exciting because you're going to see improvements as a resident or as an investor in the long term with that in mind. But ultimately, they've got money. That's really the way to look at it. Dubai has wealth, it's growing, and that stability and that confidence that it has the structure and it's more established than perhaps other areas of the Middle East is what causes the benefit to have economic growth and stability in the region. So secondly, strategic location and connectivity. This is huge. At times, the current Dubai airport has been the busiest in the world in terms of foot numbers, and ultimately, that's because you have a lot of people having layovers here and transitioning and connecting through Dubai, especially from the likes out to the Far East in terms of Singapore, Malaysia, Australia, etc., etc. And obviously, you've got Dubai that's effectively, in the center of the globe as you look at the map. And over to the left side, obviously, you've got, Europe and the likes of the countries there. So having that kind of central location is really, really important for people coming through and practicalities and stopping up in Dubai. One, for layovers, but two, they might think they'll have a few days break here, then they fall in love with it. And then a few years later, before you know it, they purchased a property here. But secondly, it just makes sense in terms of the time zone as well. So what you find is it is quite a central time zone compared to other global cities. So it's quite practical to work here. Obviously, business is very much international now. We're in the period of Zoom, etc. So a lot of people are, ultimately working from home, and they're connecting with people all around the world, whether that's clients, partners, staff, etc. So having a neutral time zone that's practical and doesn't mean you have to stay up to the early hours is really, really important as well. And that's ultimately has an impact on the advantages of the city, and seeing Dubai as a really, really good location, both practically in terms of traveling, but also in terms of the actual practicalities of living here as well. So on to the next one. Obviously, you have the tax-free environment, which is often the headline that gets a lot of people interested and gets them looking into Dubai. And that's, both on a personal income tax level and a capital gains tax level as well. And then obviously, you've got to think about the investor-friendly policies from the government that have been put into place. So freehold ownership, visa policies in terms of like the golden visa, the 2-year investor visa, the remote working visa you can look at, which is a good way to attract people into the city, and ultimately they might come in as tenants and then in the future buy as well. So it's not just, Dubai is a tax-free place, it's great. It's more the backing of the government and the policies and the investor-friendly environment that they're making it. People want to come here and do business individually and also employers want to come here as well. That's the principles behind it. They're making it attractive. They're making it easy. They're making it smooth. They're putting a lot of the procedures online and streamlining it. So yeah, that's really, really important as well. Regulatory framework and transparency. So under RERA and the DLD, the Dubai Land Department, the rules and regulations of operating in Dubai as a real estate market, as a real estate brokerage or as a developer or even as a tenant, property manager, etc., etc. They've all become a bit more strict and a bit more streamlined over the years. So when I say phrases like the market has matured, by that what I mean is it's not a free-for-all. It's not the Wild West what it used to be perhaps back in the day. There's a lot of stipulations from developers now in terms of when they can start construction, them registering, them having sufficient financial capability, or they've reached a certain construction milestone before they can start selling projects. So it's a lot more stricter on that side of things. Agents themselves, there's a lot more regulation in terms of advertisement. You have to have various QR codes and permit numbers before you advertise projects. Only a certain number of agents, well, it's 3, can advertise individual properties from owners as well. So a lot of that means it's become a lot more organized, a bit more efficient. There's not hundreds of fake listings online, and the market's tidied up. It's become a bit more slick and a bit more trusting, which is really, really good, because now it's becoming comparable to other global cities as well. So there is a long way to go. There is a lot of work to do, but there's been huge steps in leaps and bounds made over recent years, and it's becoming a lot more trusted now. And the framework behind operating here in the real estate market, whatever your role or whatever your interest, is certainly becoming more attractive. So the next fundamental principle we want to look at is the population growth. I touched on this earlier, but this is probably one of the most important, because if you don't have people to rent your properties or to buy your properties, either as an owner-occupier or as an investor, then the values are not going to go up, okay? And how do we get this demand from properties? It's from people moving here, living here, and investing here. And the population growth what we've seen in Dubai has been really aggressive in recent years. And as I touched on earlier, the government have really, really big plans to continue this upwards momentum and drive the population growth in Dubai, because fundamentally that grows the economy. It forces, well, it doesn't force, but it encourages employers to come here. It encourages businesses to set up and cater to these residents of the city and make money. So the government can earn income as well from the likes of, VAT, etc., and now corporation tax. So there's a lot of benefits for both people that are living here and for the government themselves in terms of the economic growth and the income. It doesn't always feel like that when you're sitting in traffic and you're thinking all these people in Dubai, etc. But the other thing I'd mention on that is obviously the Dubai government. They are doing a lot in terms of infrastructure. I've used the phrase urbanization there, but if you look at the constant improvements to particularly the road network here, as well as construction sites, you obviously see a lot of road work happening, and probably a lot that you don't see at night as well. So they are constantly improving that. And I saw recently an initiative from the government where they're looking at having government employees work from home more often to reduce traffic on the roads. And then obviously things like the airport as well, the trams and the metros, etc., all the transport facilities are looking to be improved. And so, yeah, that population growth combined with infrastructure improvement has been a really beneficial factor for property values as well. So tourism and the hospitality sector, again, this is another area which is really important for property owners in Dubai. Ultimately, people come to Dubai, they visit, they like it, and in the future they tell their friends, they tell their family, and then they end up buying here. So that's really important for the long-term perspective. But also, because of the tourism, what you see is, again, I mentioned this a second ago, but you see businesses set up here and provide services, and big corporate companies will set up and manage hotels here, which not only the tourists benefit from, but the residents benefit from as well. So as a lot of you will know, in Dubai, it's very much catered around the hotel scene here. So when you go and, visit pools on the weekend and have, brunches, a lot of them are in hotels. A lot of the best restaurants are in hotel buildings. A lot of meetings, a lot of business happens in hotel lobbies. So yeah, that's just one example of why it's beneficial for tourists to come to Dubai for the residents themselves. and ultimately in the long term, as I say, that puts pressure on prices because people come back and they visit, but also in terms of the hospitality sector, it's the lifestyle element, right? So people know Dubai has a world-class, food and beverage scene and a lot to do on the weekend. So not only can they come here, they can benefit from, the employment structure and the ability to do business here, but on the weekends and the evenings they can enjoy their life here. They can visit the pools, visit the bars, visit the restaurants, have the beach days, etc., which is really, really hard to get in other areas of the world. I've touched on this earlier, but in terms of transport, they're improving the metro system. One of the key goals of 2040 is to make, I believe it was 65%, I can't remember the exact figure, but make more tube stations or metro stations within 800 meters of a lot of the residents in Dubai. So that's really, really important. And the last fundamental that I'm mentioning here is the market trends and investment opportunities. So yes, all these factors that I mentioned are the underlying principles of what's causing property values to rise, but what you've got to think about is how you can ride that wave, how you can benefit from it, or how your clients can benefit from it. So is it buying off plan? Is it looking at an emerging location? Is it focusing on the short-term let market? Is it going for new launches which are brand new to the market and just come out, or just been released 2 hours ago, for example? So a lot of things that you can take advantage on, but those points that I've covered today in this lesson are really, really important because I keep using this phrase, but that's the underpinning fundamentals to the Dubai real estate market and what's causing it to grow and continue with the upwards trajectory. So hopefully that's some good insight, guys, in looking at a more macro level and looking at the more bigger picture things. We'll get into specifics later on, properties, how to choose a development, etc. But these are all the factors that you've got to consider, which is causing the growth in the Dubai real estate market. But thanks for listening.